Hello, I'm Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, here to join the Michigan Department of Transportation to kick off National Work Zone Awareness Week. As we recommit to modernizing our nation's roads, the contributions of construction workers are as important as ever, and their safety and well-being are a top priority. In 2019, we lost 842 people to highway work zone incidents. That's 842 people who won't be going home to their family. Honoring their lives means recognizing that these crashes are not inevitable. They're not the cost of doing business. They're not a normal part of having a highway system. These deaths are preventable. At the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration, we're working hard to protect these workers. And we're asking the public to do your part as well. Drive carefully so construction workers can work safely. That means keeping an eye out for signs, cones, barrels, workers directing traffic, and anything indicating that a work zone is ahead. It means slowing down when approaching a work zone. It means keeping a safe distance between yourself and the vehicles around you. And it means staying vigilant every time you get behind the wheel. Even work zones that you're used to passing every day can change, so always drive as if you are passing it for the first time. This week and every week, I ask that everyone do their part to keep our workers and the traveling public safe. The people who maintain our roads make so much of our daily lives possible. It's thanks to them that we can get to work and return home safely, and they deserve that same safety. Thank you for helping to keep them and yourselves safe.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Pollack, the Acting Administrator of the Federal Highway Administration. On behalf of the Federal Highway Administration, I want to join you in reminding drivers to drive carefully in areas where road construction is underway. Every year, hundreds of people are killed in highway work zone crashes across the country. The number rose dramatically in the last year, and we need your help to stop it. Their losses are unacceptable and preventable. The men and women fixing our nation's roads deserve to do their job and go home safe and sound after their shift. We urge you to help us. When driving through a highway work zone, drive safely so they can stay safe. Please stay alert when you're driving through areas where construction is underway. Remember to slow down, don't tailgate, and don't text and drive. When you approach a construction site, look for orange signs, orange cones, orange barrels, and flaggers wearing orange vests. The Federal Highway Administration and the nation's transportation community will show our support for highway workers by wearing orange on Wednesday, April 28th for National Go Orange Day. We invite you to join us. Share your support by posting a selfie of yourself in orange on Twitter. And remember, #Orange4Safety. Your state leaders have worked hard to keep construction areas safe, but we can't succeed without you. For anyone driving through highway work zones this year, help us make them safer for everyone. Thank you.
All right. Good morning. Governor is here. Thank you for coming. We can get started now. I'm John Richard, and welcome to National Work Zone Awareness Week. I've been the communications rep in the Grand Rapids area in our 13-county Grand Region area for, about 12 years now, since 2009. And welcome to the beautiful shores of Lake St. Clair, the forgotten gem of the Great Lakes. And did you know that it's the 15th largest lake in the country? Amazing. But thank you for being here today, and welcome to our online audience, our speakers, our crew, our work zone leader, Chuck Bergman, who's been working his tail off for months on this, and Courtney Bates, everyone that's been helping out. And several of my bosses are here today, including Director Adjoba and Governor Whitmer, so thanks again for being here. And we're all here today to get the word out about work zone safety. And our theme sums it up. Drive safe, work safe, save lives. It sounds simple enough, but it's not always that simple. We're also here today because of tragedies. I mean, really, if you think about it, we've all been affected by crashes because crashes are catastrophic and they're devastating. And I'd like to thank Leslie Fonzie Lynch for being here today. The family has suffered a great loss, and it's very inspiring and helpful for her and her family to be here today for Brandon. About 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about what I would say for my opening remarks, because I've done a few of these. And I wanted to involve the audience by a show of hands. So by a show of hands, how many here have lost a friend or a loved one in a crash? Well, that day I didn't qualify to raise my hand, and I felt really lucky about that. I thought, I'm 50 years old, I work for the DOT, and I haven't lost a friend or loved one. But the very next day, I kid you not, I did qualify. My good friend Jake Fortier slammed into a side of an SUV that did not yield and turned right in front of him, and he died the next day. I knew Jake for 25 years, and just like that, he was gone. Last year, there were 4,900 work zone crashes in Michigan. 4,900, that's over 13 a day, just in work zones. For the second year in a row, we, Michigan, are the national host for this very important week. So that's got to be a unique distinction, I would think, of some kind. And we have masked heroes here today that are trying to make it better and safer for everybody. So our first guest is from the American Traffic Safety Services Association, easier said as ATSA, and she's the newest highway engineer for the Chippewa County Road Commission. Please welcome Stephanie Boileau. White down. Sanity first, there we go.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today, either in person or virtually. My name is Stephanie Boileau, and I am the current president of the Michigan chapter of ATSA. ATSA represents the transportation infrastructure industry throughout the United States with a core purpose to advance roadway safety. Our mission is safer roads save lives, and our efforts are strategically focused on policies and technologies that improve roadway safety. Our organization promotes both public and industry education regarding work zone safety, and we also advocate at the state and federal levels to educate decision makers on the need for more safety-specific policies. One of the arms of our national organization is the ATSS Foundation. The foundation's purpose is twofold. First, to honor fallen roadway workers, and second, to support the surviving family members in the form of college scholarships and experience camps for grieving children. To your left is the National Work Zone Memorial. It's been brought here from Washington, D.C. This wall contains more than 1,500 names of those who have been killed in work zones throughout the United States. The Michigan chapter has worked diligently to track down the names of any roadway workers killed on Michigan roadways to ensure they are properly remembered. One of the many names on this memorial today is Brandon Spychalski. Brandon proudly worked for Pyramid Paving in the Bay City area. During a paving operation in 2017, he was struck by an intruding vehicle and sustained severe, debilitating injuries during this crash. He eventually passed over 2 years later as a result of these injuries. Today, I am joined by his mother, Ms. Leslie Fonzie Lynch, his sister, Alexandria, and his aunt, Chris. Leslie is going to share Brandon's story with you now.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of my son, Brandon Spychalski, and the other family members that have been affected by work zone tragedy. My heart goes out to you all. The definition of a hero: a person in the face of danger combats adversity through feats of courage or strength. One study published in 2015 journal suggests that heroes have 12 central traits, which are bravery, conviction, courage, determination, helpful, honesty, moral integrity, protective, self-sacrifice, selflessness, inspirational, and strength. My son Brandon had all of these qualities. Brandon was a loving father, son, grandson, brother, nephew, cousin, and friend. He was an avid Steeler fan, fisherman, hunter, and was well known on Xbox, where he made additional lifelong friends. He had a kind and loving soul. His smile was infectious. He was smart, caring, determined, helpful, strong, and protective over all of his family and friends. He had a positive outlook on life. He had the strength and courage beyond anyone I've ever met. He was brave beyond words. He sacrificed more than anyone his age should. Spring 2016, my son started his job with Pyramid Paving in Bay City, Michigan. He worked long hours, several days in a row. He came home exhausted and filthy. However, he looked forward to going back the next day and doing it all over again. He felt that he belonged and had a purpose. He would share with family and friends about his day, where they were working and how in need of repair our roads are. He would also share how drivers did not pay attention, how many people drove recklessly through where they were working, disregarding the orange cones, workers, large equipment, and signs. He and his co-workers had a nickname for each other that they made up. His was Bullwinkle. I felt like I knew each one of them by their stories. He also referred to them as his brothers. They all had a special bond. June 5th, 2017, we celebrated Brandon's 27th birthday. He was a proud dad. His daughter's face would light up when he was around. He had goals and dreams for himself and his daughter. He was also full of life. He was my son. He was my everything. I was and am so proud of him. June 29th, 2017, 24 days after I celebrated my son's birthday, our world was turned upside down. My son got up to work just like any other day. However, he didn't return home that night. Our family's nightmare soon began. The first night in SICU, they made arrangements for all of us to see my son, and he was in critical condition. We were told he may not survive the night. He was fighting for his life. Day after day, month after month, more and more complications, and then told your son may not survive, over and over again. How many times can a mother hear those words? The once perfect life was now filled with tubes, scars, and then he was bound to a wheelchair. Every day was a fight for him. As a mother and a nurse, I told him I was his biggest fan and we would fight together. I slept every night in a recliner while he was in the hospital. He spent 281 days between St. John and Rehab Institute of Michigan. He wasn't able to eat on his own for the first 7 months. His daughter spent her second birthday in the hospital lobby. She had to see her father hooked up to machines and tubes. He looked forward to her visit as it gave him some hope. April 2018, I was able to bring my son home, where he had 24-hour nursing care. In total, he had 30 surgeries due to all the excessive injuries. Brandon continued to fight each day. He suffered in pain, however, kept a smile on his face. He was grateful to be alive. January understand. Do any of you? She asked why someone hurt her dad. Can anyone please help me answer these questions? We visit a grave and talk to a stone. She celebrated her 5th birthday with only a picture of him at her party. She now calls the cemetery heaven. The person who caused my son's tragedy was a 21-year-old male who was driving a flatbed tow truck. From what we were told by witnesses, he did not slow down in the construction zone. At some point, he saw a car stopped in front of him and veered off to the right to avoid the collision, and instead crushed my son against his work truck, which was on the side of the road. I read an impact statement at his court hearing. The ultimate decision was made by the judge for this 21-year-old to spend a couple days in jail, weekends only, and a small fine. It was less than 1 month. Where is the justice? I asked the prosecutor's office about the signs posted in construction zone, and he said it didn't matter. He had no priors, not under the influence, and not texting. Again, where is the justice? The sign, injure or kill a worker and receive a fine and/or jail time, is very misleading. It did not matter in my son's case. My son suffered a great deal and paid the ultimate sacrifice, his life. We need to fix this terrible problem. Those signs do matter. They matter to me and my family. They matter to all other families that have lost a loved one while working in construction, and they should matter to the community. Heaven forbid this were happen to another family. I don't know what all the answers are to prevent work zone tragedies, but something needs to be done. We need to continue to educate people, start with driver's training, post cameras in work zone, ticket those that exceed the speed limit, enforce the fines and jail time. Continued help from the police to monitor those areas at various times a day. Recently, Grand Blanc Police posted on Facebook several dangerous speeds on I-75, with one at 115 miles per hour, with one resulting in a drunk driver arrest. Changes need to be made. People should feel safe at their jobs and not fear for their lives. My son should be here. All the people's names on this wall should be here. To drive is a privilege. A vehicle can be dangerous, and people need to pay attention and be held accountable for their actions. I beg you, please slow down in construction zones. Our life and others are forever changed. Pay attention, leave early, be cautious, and watch your surroundings. And I'm told my son's picture's on one of the screens. Please take a long look at my son's picture. This could have been your son, your daughter, one of your family members. Next time you're impatient or in a hurry, remember his face. Stuck in traffic doing makeup, remember his face. Playing with the radio or phone, remember his face. Anything that takes your eyes off the road, just stop and remember his face. His name was Brandon Spahalski. He was a loving son, brother, nephew, cousin, grandson, uncle, and a loving father to a little girl named Chloe. Brandon, you are and will always be my hero. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. It takes a lot of courage to share these stories publicly, and we really appreciate your family being here today. Thank you. In addition to Brandon, we are also here to honor the 6 other workers we lost in 2020 and early 2021. Please bow your heads as we observe a moment of silence to honor our fallen teammates. Thank you. To my fellow road workers, as we enter into the official construction season, please use this week to recommit yourselves, your crews, and your management to safe work zone practices. We owe it to each other. This year in particular, we stand at the beginnings of unprecedented infrastructure and maintenance funding, both in Michigan and throughout the United States. Quite simply, more money means more projects. And as exciting as that is, this brings sharply to the forefront 2 issues. First, an increased risk of exposure for our experienced workers. And second, the need to hire and train hundreds of new workers to meet the labor demands that this industry will require. Governor Whitmer, Senator Barrett, Transportation Committee Chairman and Representative O'Malley, on behalf of ATSA, the men and women rebuilding Michigan's deteriorating roadways, and our teammates we have lost along the way, we are asking to be included in policy development, in the setting aside of funds for safety-specific initiatives, and the strengthening and enforcement of existing work zone legislation. Effective work zone policies that save lives are not made at a once-a-year press conference. We request your backing and your commitment to proactive safety legislation and countermeasures. Effective and feasible protections will not be created top-down, but rather developed bottom-up based on our millions of hours of field experience in this industry. This industry was your campaign platform. This industry is your committee's specialization. Use us as a resource to ensure safe working conditions for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, throughout the years, our next speaker has been a staple at work zone safety events. Rochelle Vandeventer is the Vice President of Industry Relations for the MIDA. With over 21 years of transportation experience, she's a lead liaison for a whole bunch of very important acronyms, and she's a former MDOTer as well, and also a Spartan. Please welcome Rochelle Vandeventer.
Thank you, John. In a 2020 national survey of highway contractors on work zone safety, conducted by the Associated General Contractors of America, 67% of respondents reported at least one work zone crash in the past year involving a moving vehicle, and 33% reported 5 or more crashes. Compared to previous surveys done, the numbers are only increasing. And those increases are being felt by our contractors and our construction workers, who every year feel that work zone crashes pose a greater risk than the year before. And keep in mind that workers are not the only people at risk, as nearly 4 in 5 victims in work zone crashes are drivers and/or their passengers. Here in Michigan, within our own construction industry, those high and unacceptable numbers are understood far too well. We heartbreakingly lost 5 of our own workers last year, and as stated earlier, 1 this year. They were sons, fathers, brothers, friends, family. They were loved immensely, and they are deeply missed. Now, as all of us know, there is a lot of work to be done, not just here in Michigan, but all over our nation. Infrastructure work is not going away anytime soon, and neither are the growing number of possible driver distractions. Especially if we get the infrastructure funding we so desperately need, there will be even more projects, and we all will need a strong and skilled workforce to help our crumbling infrastructure so that all of us can realize the benefits. But in order to attract and retain a strong workforce, our workers need to feel safe going to work every day. And their families need to feel confident that their loved ones will make it home at the end of the day. Awareness is the main goal of this week's national event, but work zone safety needs to be something that everyone considers every time they drive. At MITA, we are proud to say we work diligently with MDOT and our other industry partners to find and implement ways to make our work zones safer and to help elevate the awareness of work zone safety. But we won't be able to create a cultural change all on our own. We need everyone's help sharing this message. And so we appreciate everyone who is participating today that recognizes that the importance of work zone awareness is an everyday consideration. The tragedies represented by the National Work Zone Memorial showcased here today, with over 1,500 names that have been killed in work zones, those tragedies were avoidable. And we wouldn't have to keep having this conversation if only everyone would not just hear what we are saying, but really listen and act. Today is the day each of us can commit to talk to our friends and family about work zone safety and risky and/or harmful driving habits. We can remind them and ourselves that our driving habits can save lives, including our own. MITA really appreciates MDOT allowing me to speak at today's event on behalf of MITA's contractors. The construction industry cares so deeply about this cause and is 100% committed to helping spread any message that could improve work zone safety and will allow for people to arrive home alive at the end of the day. Thank you for participating in today's event, and remember to always drive safe, work safe, save lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rochelle, yet again. Another familiar face to our Work Zone Awareness Week is Mr. Bart Pickelman. For over 30 years, Bart's mission has been protecting the safety and health of Michigan workers. Please welcome the director of MIOSHA, Bart Pickelman.
Thank you, John. Good morning. The harsh reality is too many lives are lost and too many injuries are suffered in workplace accidents. The impact of these tragedies go well beyond the victims. It affects the spouses, the children, the parents, the friends, and the coworkers. So thank you for attending the kickoff to the 2021 National Work Zone Awareness Week. MIOSHA's mission is to protect the health and safety of Michigan workers. Thank you for allowing MIOSHA the opportunity to bring attention to this issue from a worker safety standpoint. We owe it to the 5 Michigan workers that lost their lives and the road workers across the country who lost their lives last year in work zones. We all must do better. With the warmer weather, road construction is picking up, and more people will be traveling on those roads. The events this week will help raise awareness of work zone hazards and emphasize the need for job site safety at all projects, big and small. During this time of distracted drivers, we ask everyone to be focused on driving, especially in work zones. We ask everyone to follow the work zone signs and speed limits. Slow down when workers are present. Many of us work in buildings, offices, schools, factories, stores. Imagine doing your job with traffic moving within inches of you at 60 or more miles an hour. There are MIOSHA rules that employers and employees must follow to help protect men and women working in roadway projects. I encourage you to please use MIOSHA as a resource to keep your work zones safe. We are here to help. MIOSHA's #1 focus is to help ensure that workers go home safe at the end of the day to their families and their loved ones. And the activities this week will certainly help in that effort. I want to thank the Federal Highway Administration and especially the Michigan Department of Transportation for coordinating this event. A huge thank you to the governor and the other speakers for helping to elevate the importance of this event and bring awareness to work zone safety. The solidarity on these issues shows everyone's commitment to stopping work zone injuries and fatalities. It's important for everyone to do their part. Drive safe, work safe, save lives. Thank you again. MIOSHA is truly honored to be a part of this event.
Thank you, Bart. Nice job as always. Colonel Joseph Gasper is the 19th Director of the Michigan State Police, and looking at your bio, you've been all over the place. Sergeant Detective, Sergeant, Lieutenant, First Lieutenant, and Captain from Marquette to Negaunee, and he's from Newaygo. So I bet he's got some interesting tales to tell. Please welcome Colonel Joseph Gasper.
Good morning. Thank you, Director Advocacy, for the invitation to join all of you today and our other esteemed speakers for today's event, including Governor Whitmer, who is probably the state's fiercest advocate for improving the safety of our Michigan roads. Thank you for your support. Traffic safety, which includes work zone safety, is a key area of focus for the Michigan State Police. Our troopers and motor carrier officers travel these roads as much as anyone, which gives us a unique perspective on what goes on behind the wheel. It should come as no surprise that speeding and distracted driving are far too common. And in work zones, this combination can be deadly for both the motorists and the workers who perform their jobs in these work zones. It's not just passenger vehicles who are disregarding their responsibility to drive safely. It's also our commercial vehicle drivers. In previous years, we've experienced crashes leading up to the start of work zones because commercial traffic failed to stop in time while approaching slow or stopped traffic. For this reason, our MSP motor carrier officers will be paying particular attention not just to the work zone, but also to the mile or two before the work zone in an attempt to deter speeding, following too closely, and distracted driving. It is our hope that this visible enforcement will slow down commercial traffic and others, and raise awareness to the possibility of upcoming traffic, reduced traffic speeds, lane reductions, and the possibility of traffic coming to a sudden stop. As drivers, we all need to do our part. We need to be alert. We need to watch for signs and prepare for slowdowns. But most importantly, when you're behind the wheel, you must give your task of driving your undivided attention. Together, we can reduce these preventable crashes and save lives. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's driving is not the difficult part. It's the sustained focus that people can't seem to handle. On my way here, my truck broke down on 59 East. I was stuck in the middle of the road, and Director Advocacy was there, and he saved me. So did Davis Wu. So thanks for picking me up and getting here. Luckily, it was just a half mile down the road, but I thought this was going to be the most stressful part of my day, but getting stuck on M59, that was scary. I thought I was going to get rear-ended for sure, but luckily I didn't. So Paul C. Adjuba has over 30 years of experience with the Michigan Department of Transportation, and on the first day of 2019, he was appointed the director of MDOT by Governor Gretchen Whitmer. He has worked on and overseen mega award-winning projects, and he's the only person that I know that is a Panther and a Wolverine. Prairie View A&M, correct? I had to look that one up. I didn't know the mascot. So please welcome the director of MDOT, Paul Adjuba.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. First, let me say thank you, Governor, for your commitment to fix our crumbling infrastructure and for promoting a safe work zone. Zach Morissette, Macomb County Road Commission, Jeremy Zitt, Allen Corporation, Alan Craig, Dance Excavating, Nicholas Andres Sada, C&D Hughes, Davion Desmond Aurelius Rose, C&D Hughes. These are the 5 workers that were killed in Michigan work zones in 2020. These 5 men had bright futures, family, and friends that loved them. There is now a silence, an emptiness, a sadness, a hole in the lives of the mothers, fathers, spouses, children, and co-workers who will never see or hear from their loved ones and friends again. They represent the life and death consequences of unsafe driving in work zones. In 2020, there were 3,900 work zone crashes and 14 fatalities in Michigan alone. 5 road workers and 9 road users lost their lives. Nationally, 135 workers and 140 pedestrians and bicyclists died from injuries sustained in highway work zones in 2019. The sobering reality is that we still have a lot of work to do. However, with the help and attention of workers and road users, MDOT, and Michigan's highway construction industry, we can reduce and eliminate work zone deaths. As drivers, we can still help by slowing down and keeping a safe distance between vehicles, minimizing distractions and staying alert, obeying road workers and all signs, watching for slowdowns and sudden stops, avoiding work zones when possible and checking routes before leaving home, and be patient and calm. At MDOT, we are making changes too. In 2018, the Work Zone Safety Task Force was launched as a collaborative effort between MDOT and Michigan's construction industry. Our goal is always safety first in Michigan work zones. One way we are working to achieve this is by balancing safety and mobility and exploring ways we can reduce construction activities that put workers at risk. We are also expanding the use of innovative safety systems like rumble strips and traffic queue warning systems to alert motorists of an upcoming work zone or backups. We continue to partner with Michigan State Police and other police agencies around the state to enforce speeds and safe driving behaviors. By making these small changes, we can make a difference in work zone safety. Beginning in 1999, National Work Zone Awareness Week is a campaign dedicated to encouraging caution and safe driving in work zones. This year's theme, Drive Safe, Work Safe, Save Lives, focuses on both road users and workers to promote work zone safety. Drive Safe is a reminder that work zones needs everybody's undivided attention. Dangerous driving behavior affects more than just the driver. Everyone's lives and families are at stake. Work Safe is a reminder that work zone safety begins with workers and industry who are dedicated to safety. Save Lives If we all work together, we can achieve zero deaths on our roads and in our work zones. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, after being a sheriff for 30 years, now he's a Macomb County exec, so he knows all about having the most traffic in the entire state of Michigan. So please welcome our next speaker, Mr. Mark Hackle.
Thanks, John, and thanks for the subtle reminder about being the sheriff, which is a much funner job than being a county executive, much less political. But with that being said, Governor, I just want to thank you. Again, not just for your tireless efforts to try to figure out how do we come up with the funding to solve this road problem, but also your commitment to try to keep our workers safe. Obviously, putting this event on here in Macomb County means a lot to me. It means a lot to our road workers here in Macomb County, not just the ones that work for the Department of Roads, but also the construction companies that are out here doing the job, because it's interesting. And again, Leslie, our thoughts go out to you and the loss of Brandon, who will forever be remembered as Bullwinkle. And I say that because it's interesting being in law enforcement. I think Lieutenant Shaw and Colonel Gasper can understand or appreciate this. Within the community of law enforcement, there's a brother and a sisterhood. We become family. There's a tremendous love for one another. And unfortunately, when there's a loss of a loved one, it takes hold for every one of us within the law enforcement ranks. And I had to see that firsthand for the first time in my life within the Department of Roads, which was something I was responsible for. And when we lost Zach Morissette, I got to tell you, I could not believe the incredible outpouring of support by various organizations or agencies throughout the entire state that came to that funeral, as sad as it was. The mother and what they went through and the family, but also internally within that department, the stress and the pain that they endured as a result of loss of a loved one working within their ranks. So to know that there's this camaraderie by giving each other nicknames, there's a sense of there's a person here. There's somebody that is loved within the organization. And our hearts and thoughts go out to you in your loss. And that's why we're here today, to talk a little bit more about that so we can prevent other losses in these tragedies that every one of us seems to have some type of connection with and in that loss. And so we're here for this week of, if you will, National Awareness Week for construction zones. But folks, it's not just a one-week process. It's something we need to endure and understand year-round. Here in Macomb County, thanks to MDOT, thanks to our local partners, thanks to what's going on with the Department of Roads, over 100 work zones are going to be taking place here in Macomb County. $100 million, and we can use 100 million more. But to try to take care of all of these areas and try to police every one of these areas is a very difficult thing to do. So right now there is going to be continuous construction year-round, and this is something that just isn't a week-long thing we want people to remember. We want them to remember this year-long so that we keep our road workers safe. They talk about the national statistics, which 2019 is the latest. There was 762 fatal crashes in work zones nationally, of which there were 842 deaths in those construction zones, and 135 were road workers. 135 road workers. We don't have the national stats yet for 2020, but we do have a local statistic, and it's an unfortunate one that was just mentioned by Director Adjuba, talking about the 5 workers that lost their lives. Here in Macomb County, unfortunately, we had 2 that lost their life. I mentioned one, Zachary Morissette. Forever will he be remembered by our department and his family and friends. But also Alan Craig, working for Dan's Excavating, and I know Dan has representatives here as well. It's a tremendous loss, and that's why we're grateful that you chose Macomb County as being a location to kind of get a reminder out because of the suffering that we have seen throughout that past year. But again, there are many ways to try to avoid this. We talk about them, distractions. Understand that people want these roads fixed, these damn roads fixed. They want them fixed. It's going to take funding to help support that. But also understand it takes a while to fix a road. We can't go to Target. We can't go to Myers. We can't go to Amazon and have one brought in. Or bridges, which we wish we could do. It takes a while to fix these roads. People need to be patient and tolerant of the road workers. Be mindful, as Colonel Gasper said, about what you're doing when you're traveling through these zones. And it shouldn't be because there's penalties associated with it. It should be because you realize there's a possibility that you could put yourself in a situation where you might take the life of another human being. So you need to be very mindful and careful. So the message we send out, we understand the campaign, but how you drive will save their life. So please be mindful of how you drive in and around this state during this construction season so that we don't have to deal with another tragic loss. And with that, I know John, him and I were debating who was going to be introducing the governor, but I'm going to take executive privilege here in Macomb County and do that, as I've already made mention. So John, you get to relax, even though you got a very nice suit. I don't know if you folks noticed. It's color coordinated today. He's got that little hinge of yellow that's in there, the tint of orange in there. He kind of looks like a construction barrel, but a classy construction barrel. So, John, with that, I will take executive privilege and introduce the governor, who's been incredibly tireless in trying to get people to realize we are very much in need of fixing our roads. In fact, she sent Director Adjuba down here just yesterday, and he and I and the Lieutenant Governor were traveling and looking at some of the bridges here in Macomb County, one specifically that's been out for about 5 years now. And there's a commitment to try to figure out how do we take care of those bridges that are closed. So, Governor, thank you for sending the director here. Not only is he very attentive, but he works incredibly well with our folks here in Macomb County. And on that note, Governor, I want to thank you once again for your attention drawn to this incredible issue here, and it's keeping people safe and making sure our construction workers are safe and out of harm's way. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, the governor of the great state of Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Well, thank you, County Exec. As you were speaking, I was thinking, we have a tendency to look at these orange cones when we're driving and to think, oh, there's a hassle, there's a slowdown, there's something in my way. We should be looking at these orange cones and realizing they're sending us a sign that there are people that are on this construction, in this workplace. These are representative of people who are putting their lives at risk to make ours easier and safer. In this environment, I think it's become so difficult to remember and see the humanity in one another. There are so many distractions, there are so many stressors, and yet that's what today is really about, to see the humanity in one another, to remember we're all people. And the men and women who are on these construction sites have families and friends and loved ones who wait for them to get home at the end of the day. This is not a hassle. This is not an obstruction. This is a workplace where there are men and women who have loved ones and lives, and that's what today is really all about. I'm so grateful that the county exec is with us. I'm grateful that our MDOT director and the colonel of the state police and MIOSHA, and of course, Leslie, we're all in awe of your poise in sharing Brandon's story. As I mentioned to you before we came out here, I think one of the most humbling things I've ever seen in my years in public service is a parent who turns their grief into a cause to protect other people's kids. And that's what you're doing, and I thank you for that. This is an important week, but as many of the speakers have said, this can't just be about a week. This doesn't happen just 1 out of 52 weeks a year. This is 52 weeks work that we have to do to educate the public, to make sure that we raise awareness, to require and implore and educate and encourage people to drive safe, to work safe so we can save lives. Each of us has a right to be safe on the job, and that is no less true, maybe even more true for the men and women who show up in these workplaces every single day. Every year, hundreds are killed in these highway work zone crashes. Together, we've got to aspire to bring more work zone crashes and deaths down, ultimately to zero, especially as our construction season ramps up. Today is an important moment to recognize that we have work to do, that people of our state are counting on us. As Leslie said, every time you're jumping in that car, think of Brandon. Think of Chloe, the daughter, who misses her dad every single day. We know the cost that a snap decision, a moment of inattention can wreak on a community, on a person, on a family, on a generation. And that's why the work that we're doing today must commence and continue year-round. I thank you all for being a part of this event today. I implore every one of us to take this message with us every single day. And my commitment is that we will continue to work together until we get to zero crashes, zero fatalities, and keep people safe as they are working to rebuild the state and a cause for action today. And to the rest of the families and loved ones who've lost people in these work zones, thank you for being here as well and sharing your stories. I am humbled, and as always, the hardest job of a job that has a lot of tough days are the days that I call loved ones, survivors of National Guardsmen and women or state police, or the incredible men and women who repair our infrastructure and keep us safe every day. So thank you. Thank you. All right, I guess we're going to do a few questions. You want me just to, okay. And obviously I'm here with Director Ajaba. We've got the Colonel of the State Police. We've got the county exec. So feel free to, you don't have to just ask me. Well, I haven't actually seen everything, Rod. I will tell you that there's an investigation happening with the Michigan State Police. We are here today to talk about workplace safety. And I think that whether it is people who aren't paying attention or people who are perhaps under the influence, there are a lot of dangers to the men and women that are repairing our roads every single day. And that's really what our focus is here. Beyond that, I don't have much to comment other than I know that the investigation is proceeding. So clearly we're starting to see our numbers come down, which is good. I know that we're all happy to see that. We've got to keep taking it seriously. The CDC is continually updating their recommendations as we learn more about the virus. We learn more about the efficacy and longevity and impact of the vaccines. We are really rolling. We've got about 48.5% of our population has had at least one shot. So the more people that get vaccinated, the more things we'll be able to do. But we are continuing to monitor what the CDC is recommending and our data here in Michigan. And I would anticipate forthcoming policy changes potentially that will feel a little bit more normal for all of us. So in the interim, though, masking up is really important, especially if you're inside. And getting that vaccine is absolutely essential. And if anyone gets a diagnosis of COVID, we want people to see if they are eligible for monoclonal antibodies so we can keep them out of the hospital. All of these are pieces to our ultimate goal of, by 4th of July, having a lot more normalcy. I think there are a lot of components to it. I think that's the frustrating, difficult thing about COVID is that there's always a lot of different things that are impacting, right? So that's how we look at the data. We also look at the context as we're making decisions. We look at what the recommendations are from the CDC. But we have had regular check-ins with our hospitals and our health systems, and we know that while we saw an increase, and certainly we're concerned about younger and younger people getting COVID, it's important that we continue to take this very seriously. But it looks as though the trajectory is heading in the right way, in the right direction, and that's a good sign.
Governor and Director, with the work zone safety event kicking off here, it's very important that our hardworking men and women that are out there in the field are being recognized, and that every Michigander realizes it's their job to take work zone safety seriously, isn't it?
Every one of us has a role to play to keep our work zones safe. Anytime we jump in the car, I know many of us have driven. I can tell you, I haven't driven in a few years, but I know that I had gotten to a destination and I couldn't really remember the whole trip there, right? Because there's so many things on our minds. Or we have to stay focused when we are behind a wheel, and every one of us has an important role to play. We can bring these fatalities down to zero, but it requires motorists who are paying attention, who are taking their time, who are staying focused, and who are seeing an orange cone and understanding That represents people who are putting their lives on the line to make our lives easier and better. Director, you want to add anything to that? All right. He's like, no, give me away. Yes. You know, I mean, I've made a couple of statements. All I can say is, you know, we've never had a ban on travel in Michigan. We've encouraged people to be smart, to wear your mask, to get an inoculation as soon as you're eligible. You know, I have not gone on a spring break trip. I took a 2-day trip to visit an ailing parent and came right back and have gotten, and never once was not actually working the whole time. So, you know, I think it's really easy in this climate to tear one another down and attack people personally. Some of the same people who've criticized me would probably accuse me of not having family values if I didn't show up when a family member needed me. I'm not going to get distracted by it. I've got a job to do. We're making progress. We're going to keep people safe, whether it's COVID or it's in these workplaces. And that's what's going to always center the work that I have to do. And I think we should stop playing this game of divisiveness and political points and get to work, because we got a lot of serious things we've got to tackle. Billions of dollars are coming into Michigan to help